Hi everybody, I'm Matt Anderson, and in this video I want to talk about what the top 5% of people do that the other 95% of people just really aren't willing to do in business. As you may recall from previous videos that I've shared, I've had the great fortune to coach hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of mostly financial advisors, but some entrepreneurs and business owners and people in other high-level professions on really how to significantly upscale their business and then get more out of life. And I think there are 5 key pillars to that, which I've talked about before, but if you haven't watched one, here's the quick recap. It's shifting identity, it's establishing a key power habit or 2 that makes the 80-20 rule difference, it's knowing how to ask anyone for anything, it's understanding how to turn relationships into advocates, and then it's also about accepting and then taking action on the fact that we are our own biggest obstacles. In this video, it's funny, the content I've got, it's totally not sexy, but it's one of the most compelling things that is most people's biggest problem, the 95%, which is around consistency. In other words, doing the power habit, the key things, week in and week out and week in and week out. So when you hear it, you think, oh, I've heard this before, this isn't anything new. And that is definitely not the point. The point is that it's really, if you want to be in that top 5%, how are you doing on the consistency, specifically of your prospecting, of the big asks, of the asking tough questions, of the exercise? And very quickly, if we're honest, this is where we start to raise our hand and say, I could get a lot better at this. And so the way I see this, it's a muscle. Some people talk about consistency and they talk about it as self-discipline. And they're not exactly the same thing, because if you can learn how to craft a tiny habit and make it automatic, which is really the ideal scenario, right? Turn what we're doing and automatize it so it becomes a habit. Then you don't even have to think about it. And you don't need the self-discipline because it becomes a habit. So the best skill to learn to develop consistency is to make it a habit. And to do that, you need to learn how to do it. And the simplest way to understand how to craft a small habit is to stack the new habit on top of something that you already do day in, day out, week in, week out, whether that's pouring your cup of coffee or, grabbing your keys before you leave the house, or opening up your computer, or reviewing your day in your calendar, or if there's something in meetings that you do consistently, either when you're preparing them or running them, but you want to stack that new habit on top of something that you're already doing. And that's a much easier way then to incorporate it. Okay, so it actually isn't more complicated than that, other than you want to make it easy to start. So if possible, you want to sort of scale up with your habits so that you make it easy to get going, and then you can always build on them from there. But my point to this is if you can learn that simple process of A, pick a current habit, B, add a new one, and then C, acknowledge yourself for having done it right as quickly as possible so your brain gets the dopamine hit, right, the A, B, C, then it gets easier to be consistent. And then it's about tracking what you're doing day in, day out, week in, week out, and immediately acknowledging yourself for having done something right. This does not come innately to achiever types, right? Most of us are looking for the things we've done wrong. But if you want to make it a habit, you want to feel good, right? When we feel good, we want to do more. Crucial element to this, that we're not beating ourselves up. So we develop the consistency by tracking better what we're doing. A simple tool I'd recommend, this habit tracker is something I use. This is what month am I? So for this month, this is how many days we've had so far. I'm happy to share this as a follow-up tool for you to use. Many people, that's why they hire a coach. And I know it sounds self-serving since I coach others as to why I'd advocate for it, but that it's like having a personal trainer. When you're showing up to someone that only has their interest in you to see you succeed, it is an awfully effective way to do it. And if you can't afford a coach, then by all means, seek someone else in your life that can hold you accountable. But my point is that will help speed up your success trajectory with making something change and stick, right? Because that's the only thing that matters, is that it sticks. Otherwise, you're just dabbling, right? Which is what most people do because they don't know better. And then once you've got that piece, and I'll say, in a way I'm repeating myself, but I'm really not, is the importance of acknowledging what you've done right, so that you're not waiting a month or 2 months or 6 months before you can reward yourself for the successes that you're having. To me, that's the road to building the consistency muscle to get ever better. And let me tell you briefly about a client of mine, because this is as good an example as any, in that his consistent power habit was 3 specific asks a week for people to get increasingly upmarket in his business and have ever better quality prospects. And he's done it. Now, I've been coaching him, right? So he's had that advantage of that accountability and coaching throughout the year. But the reason I share the story is because, many weeks have gone by where maybe he's had 4 and then 2, and he's been consistent enough. In other words, he's averaged 3 a week over each month. But it wasn't until about a month ago, like many months into the year, that he had what I call a silly week. In other words, just ridiculous volumes of business came in, but he had to be very patient for that to happen. I mean, obviously he's had business coming in during the year, but then a few weeks back he had this ridiculous week, ridiculously fantastic week where all these things happen. In other words, the rewards for your consistency can't be predicted. It's just that, rather like exercise, if you keep doing the right things week in, week out, or same with financial planning, if you keep doing smart financial things month after month after month, it can only lead to great results and outcomes for you. And that's what happened to him in his business. So the rewards, came through, in a way, weeks of hard work, well, not hard work, but just consistent, unexciting work. And that's the thing about consistency. It's not a sexy topic, but the results are really, really, really sexy. Okay? So my recommendation for you is, if you can't get a coach, then at least, click the link below, get the habit tracker, get started on monitoring that, and then again, ease into how you get better with your habits. And my other call to action would be take BJ Fogg's 5-day free Tiny Habits course and learn the process of how to craft your own habits, because it's the automaticity of it that's going to also bring you beautiful, beautiful rewards. So I can't wait to see you on the next video. I'm Matt Anderson, and we'll talk again soon.